Let me tell you about a man I met once. His name was Thomas Brennan, and he was 62 years old when his whole life changed on a dusty road in Kenya. He had spent 40 years behind the wheel of a truck, running from everything that mattered: his wife, his son, himself. He thought he could outrun his mistakes by going halfway around the world. He was wrong about that. But he learned something out there in Africa, something a baby elephant taught him. Funny how that works, isn't it? Sometimes the biggest lessons come from the smallest teachers. I share this story because I reckon most of us carry something we wish we had done differently. A phone call we should have made, a hand we should have held. If any part of this sounds familiar to you, well, maybe it was meant to find you today. The truck rattled along the red dirt road, Merle Haggard's voice crackling through the old radio. Mama tried. Tom Brennan knew every word by heart. He had listened to this song 1,000 times on 1,000 lonely highways back in Montana. His hand reached for the dial. His eyes kept closing. 3 days of bad sleep, too much bourbon, not enough reason to stay awake. The shadow came from nowhere. Tom slammed the brake. The truck lurched, tires screaming, red dust exploding against the windshield like a curtain drawn shut. When the dust cleared, he saw it, a baby elephant, standing in the middle of the road, trunk raised, pointed straight at him. It did not run. Tom killed the engine. Merle's voice cut off mid-verse. His hand trembled on the key. The elephant made a sound, not a roar, not a trumpet, something high and broken, something that crawled under his skin and stayed there. Then silence. Dead silence, the kind that pressed against your eardrums. And in that silence, Tom heard it from somewhere off the road, hidden by thorny brush. Breathing, heavy, ragged, the sound of something fighting to stay alive. The baby elephant turned its head toward that sound, then back at Tom. Its eyes were wet, dark, pleading. Tom had seen a lot of things in 62 years. He had seen men beg. He had seen women weep. He had seen his own son stand at a hospital door and look at him like he was a stranger. But he had never seen anything like this. The elephant took one step toward him, then another. Its small trunk reached out, not threatening, not afraid, asking. Tom's throat went dry. He opened the truck door. If this story has found its way to you today, I would be grateful to know where you are listening from. As the old folks used to say, a story shared is a burden halved, and a blessing doubled. The heat hit him first. Kenya, in September dry season, the air thick and sharp, tasting of dust and dead grass. Tom's boots crunched on the red earth as he stepped down from the cab. The baby elephant did not move. It stood there, trunk still raised, watching him. Tom walked around the front of the truck. Slow, careful, his knees ached. 62 years of sitting behind a wheel did that to a man. Then he saw her. The mother elephant lay on her side, half hidden in the scrub brush alongside the road. Massive. Gray. Still. No, not still. Her belly moved. Shallow. Uneven. Tom stepped closer. 5 feet, 3 feet. The wire caught the light. Steel cable. Rusted brown. Wrapped around her front leg in 3 tight loops. The flesh beneath had swollen around it, purple and angry. The skin cracked like drought-split earth. No blood pooling, just that horrible swelling, and the smell iron and infection. Faint but unmistakable. Poacher's snare, left behind like trash. The mother's eye rolled toward him, glassy, exhausted. She did not try to rise. Behind him, the baby made that sound again. That broken, pleading cry, Tom turned. The little one had moved to its mother's head. Its trunk, no bigger than Tom's arm, pushed against the mother's cheek. Pushed again. Again. Get up. Get up. Get up. The mother did not move. The baby circled to her belly. Tried to wedge its head underneath. Tried to lift. Its legs strained. Its whole body shook with the effort. Nothing. Tom's hands hung at his sides. Useless. The baby ran back to the head, trunk stroking the mother's face. Those small sounds coming faster now, higher, more desperate. Something twisted in Tom's chest. Danny, 8 years old, standing at the front door in his pajamas, crying, begging him not to leave. Tom had left anyway. He always left. His hand moved to his back pocket. The two-way radio. Standard equipment for volunteer drivers. He pulled it out, pressed the button. Got an injured elephant. Kamana Road. Mile marker 14. Need help? Fast. Static. Then a woman's voice, calm and clipped. Stay where you are. Do not approach. 40 minutes. Tom lowered the radio. 40 minutes. He looked at the mother elephant, at her chest, barely rising, at her eye, half closed now. Would she have 40 minutes? Tom did not leave. He leaned against the truck's hood, arms crossed, watching. The metal was warm through his shirt. Sweat gathered at his collar, slid down his spine. The baby elephant would not stop. It pushed its mother's head, nudged her shoulder, ran around to her belly and tried again to wedge itself underneath, to lift, its legs splayed wide, trembling with strain. The mother did not move. 5 minutes passed. The baby's cries grew sharper, more ragged. 10 minutes. Tom counted the mother's breaths. Slow. Too slow. 8 per minute. Then 6. The baby circled back to her face. Its trunk stroked her cheek, her ear, the closed lid of her eye. Small sounds poured from its throat, not screams anymore. Something quieter, something worse. 15 minutes. Tom's throat felt thick. He looked away, toward the mountain. Kilimanjaro sat on the horizon, snow-capped and indifferent. The rumble of an engine broke the silence. A truck appeared from the opposite direction. Bigger than Tom's, loaded with timber, logs stacked high and strapped with chains. It rolled closer, slowed, then stopped. The driver jumped down, a heavy-set man in a sweat-stained shirt. He walked toward Tom, gesturing at the road. "Move your truck, old man. I have schedule." Tom did not uncross his arms. "Then you wait." The driver's face twisted. He looked past Tom, saw the elephants. His expression shifted not to concern, to annoyance. "Let it die." He waved his hand like brushing away a fly. "Happens all the time here." Tom felt something cold settle in his chest. Let it die. He had heard those words before, not spoken aloud, but thought by him, Margaret, in that hospital bed, the machines beeping, the doctors talking in low voices, and Tom standing in the doorway thinking, "There's nothing I can do here. The doctors will handle it. I should go. I have that delivery in Salt Lake." He had gone. Tom straightened. Pushed off from the truck. He was a head taller than the other man. 40 years of hauling freight had left him with shoulders like a draft horse. "I said." His voice came out flat, quiet. "You wait." The driver's eyes flickered. He took a step back, then another. He turned, walked to his truck, climbed in, and did not say another word. Tom watched the timber truck pull off the road and park. The driver killed the engine. Sat there. The silence returned. Tom turned back to the elephants. The baby had stopped pushing. It stood by its mother's head, trunk hanging limp, sides heaving. Exhausted. Something pulled at Tom. Something he could not name. He started walking. 1 step, 2, 5, 10. The baby saw him coming. It flinched, raised its trunk. A warning. Tom stopped, 3 yards from the mother. He lowered himself to the ground, sat, cross-legged, hands on his knees. He did not reach out, did not speak, just sat. The baby watched him. 1 minute, 2. Its trunk lowered. It took a step toward its mother. Then it looked at Tom again. It walked toward him. Slow, cautious. Its feet stirred small clouds of red dust. It stopped beside him. So close Tom could smell it dry grass, earth, something warm and animal. The trunk lifted, touched his shoulder, light, tentative, like a child reaching for a stranger's hand. Tom did not move. The baby's trunk rested there. Just rested. Its body trembled faintly. Tom's eyes burned. Dust? Had to be the dust. Well, I'll be, he whispered. The baby made a sound. Low, almost a sigh. Margaret used to sigh like that. When Tom came home after a long haul, when she was too tired to argue anymore, when she had given up trying to make him stay, he had not thought about that sound in years. Behind them, from somewhere down the road. Tom heard another engine, distant but growing louder. The rescue team. But the baby did not turn toward the sound. It stayed pressed against Tom's side, trunk still on his shoulder, watching its mother breathe. Tom watched too. The mother's chest rose, fell, rose again. Still fighting. After everything. The engine grew louder. A white pickup truck appeared over the rise, trailing dust. It slowed as it approached, then stopped behind Tom's truck. 2 people jumped out. The woman reached him first, mid-40s, short hair. A scar ran along her forearm, pale and thick, like something with claws had caught her once. Her eyes swept from Tom to the baby elephant still pressed against his side. Her face went pale. "Are you out of your mind?" Her voice cracked sharp. "She could kill you in 1 second. 1." Tom rose slowly. His knees protested. He stepped back, and the baby's trunk slid from his shoulder. "She didn't." The woman, Amara. He remembered from the radio, stared at him like he had lost his senses. Then she turned to the mother elephant, dropping to her knees beside the swollen leg. The young man who had come with her late 20s, lean, with quick hands, was already pulling equipment from the truck bed. Metal cases, a canvas bag, syringes. "Joseph," Amara called. "Sedative, light dose. She's too weak for standard." Joseph jogged over, a loaded syringe in his hand. The baby elephant watched them. It had retreated to its mother's head, trunk resting on her cheek. It made a low sound, not the desperate cries from before. Something quieter. A question. Amara pressed her fingers to the mother's neck, counting. Her lips moved silently. Pulse is there. Weak, irregular. She examined the wound, her face tightening. "Infection is setting in. We need to move fast." Joseph administered the sedative. The mother's eye, half open, drifted closed. Her breathing slowed further but steadied. The baby let out a sharp cry. It pushed its mother's face. No response. Tom took a step forward without thinking. "Easy," he said. His voice came out rough. "Easy now. They're helping her." The baby turned to him. Its eyes were wet. Its small body shook. Tom did not know what made him do it. He walked to where the baby stood and lowered himself to one knee. The ground was hard and hot through his jeans. "She's going to be okay," he said. The words felt strange in his mouth. Words he was not sure he believed. The baby's trunk reached out, touched his chest, rested there, Right over his heart. Joseph looked up from his work. His eyebrows rose. "She trusts you." He said it like a question. Tom had no answer. But deep down, something stirred. Something that felt almost like... Then Amara's voice cut through, sharp with worry. "The wound is worse than I thought. The infection is spreading faster than it should." Amara worked fast. Her hands moved with the certainty of someone who had done this 100 times before. "Joseph! The wire cutters! Heavy gauge!" Joseph pulled a tool from the canvas bag industrial cutters, the kind Tom had seen on construction sites back home. He handed them to Amara and knelt beside her, holding the elephant's leg steady. Tom stood back, watching. The baby elephant had moved to his side again, pressing against his hip, its trunk curled and uncurled, restless. "Easy, little one," Tom murmured. "They're helping her." The baby made a low sound, not quite a whimper, something closer to a question. Amara positioned the cutters around the first loop of wire. The muscles in her forearms tensed. She squeezed. Nothing. She adjusted her grip. Squeezed harder. Her face reddened with effort. A snap. The first loop fell away, landing in the red dirt. The baby flinched at the sound, but did not run. Its trunk found Tom's hand, wrapped around his fingers. Tom held still. The trunk was rough and warm, stronger than he expected. "Second one," Amara said. She repositioned the cutters. The smell hit Tom then stronger now that the wire was loosening. Infection, decay, something sweet and rotten underneath the iron tang of old wounds. His stomach turned, but he did not look away. Amara cut. Another snap. The second loop dropped. The swelling around the wound seemed to pulse. Fluid seeped from the cracked skin yellowish. Thick. Joseph moved in immediately with a plastic bottle, irrigating the wound. The liquid ran pink as it washed away the discharge. "Last one," Amara muttered. She positioned the cutters. Her hands were shaking now, fatigue or tension. Tom could not tell. She squeezed. The final loop of wire fell free. The mother elephant's leg twitched a reflex. Nothing more. But the baby reacted instantly, pulling away from Tom, running to its mother's side. Its trunk stroked her face, her ear, her closed eye. "Wake up." "Please, wake up." Amara sat back on her heels. Sweat dripped from her chin, leaving dark spots in the red dust. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "The wound is deep, but she's strong." She looked at Tom. "You called it in early. That matters." Tom said nothing. He watched Joseph wrap gauze around the leg layer after layer, white against gray skin. The smell of antiseptic cut through the decay. "She'll need IV antibiotics," Amara continued. "Fluids, monitoring. We can't move her tonight, too weak. Too much stress. We'll have to camp here until morning." "I'll stay," Tom said. Amara frowned. "You're not staff." "I know." She studied him for a long moment. Something shifted in her expression, not softening. "Exactly." More like reassessment. "Suit yourself." The sun had dropped lower while they worked. Shadows stretched long across the savannah. The heat was fading, replaced by something cooler, carrying the smell of dry grass and somewhere distant the promise of rain. Joseph finished the bandaging. He stood, stretching his back, and walked over to where Tom stood watching the baby elephant. "Her name is Kali," Joseph said. "The mother is McKenna. We've been tracking this family for 3 years." Tom looked at the baby Kali still pressed against her mother's neck. "She seems to know you." Joseph shook his head. "No. Amboseli elephants fear humans. They learn it young. Men killed Kali's father last year, shot him for his tusks, and left him to rot." Tom's jaw tightened. "And she still trusts people." "She doesn't." Joseph's eyes met Tom's. "That's what I can't figure out. She should be terrified of you, but she's not." He paused. Elephants are smart, Mr. Brennan. Smarter than most folks give them credit for. Maybe she sees something the rest of us don't." Tom had no answer for that. He looked at Kaylee, at her small ears, her dusty hide, her trunk still stroking her mother's face. What happens if McKenna doesn't make it? Joseph was quiet for a moment. Kaylee is too young to survive alone. She still nurses, without her mother. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Tom turned back to the elephants. McKenna's breathing had steadied. The sedative was wearing off. Amara had said it would be light, just enough to keep her calm during the procedure. Her eye twitched. Her trunk moved, just slightly. Kaylee noticed immediately. She pressed closer, her small body trembling. Then McKenna's eye opened. Glassy at first, unfocused, but it moved, found Kaylee. Standing right there. Waiting. A sound came from deep in McKenna's chest. Low. Rumbling. Tom felt it more than heard it, vibrating through the ground beneath his boots. "She's talking to her," Joseph said softly. "Telling her she's still here." Kaylee answered. A higher sound, almost like a chirp. Her trunk wrapped around her mother's trunk, small against massive. Holding on tight, Tom watched them. Mother and daughter, together. His chest ached. Margaret, thin and gray in the hospital bed, reaching for his hand. "Stay, Tom. Please, just stay." He had pulled away, said he'd be back, said he just needed to make one more run, one more delivery, one more, always one more. Amara appeared beside him, pulling him from the memory. "Her vitals are stabilizing. That's good." She paused. "But the infection is aggressive. I've given her everything I have: antibiotics, fluids, anti-inflammatory. If she makes it through the night, she has a chance. And if she doesn't..." Amara did not answer. She did not need to. Tom looked at Kaylee, still holding her mother's trunk. "She'll make it," he said. Amara raised an eyebrow. "You sound certain." Tom was not certain. He was not certain of anything anymore, but looking at that baby elephant, at the way she refused to let go, refused to give up, refused to accept that her mother might not wake up, something hardened in his chest. "I reckon some things are worth believing in," he said, "even when you're not sure." Amara studied him for a moment, then she nodded, just once, and walked back to check on McKenna. The sun touched the horizon. The sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple, and somewhere in the distance, a hyena began to laugh. The fire crackled and popped, sending sparks spiraling into the black sky. Joseph had gathered dry acacia branches while there was still light, and now the flames threw dancing shadows across the red earth. Tom sat on an overturned supply crate, his back aching, his knees stiff, but he did not move. Kaylee lay beside him, her small body pressed against his leg. She had finally stopped trembling. Her eyes were closed, but her trunk twitched every few seconds, dreaming, maybe, or just listening to sounds too faint for human ears. McKenna lay 10 feet away, her massive form rising and falling with each breath. The sedative had worn off hours ago, but she had not tried to stand. Amara said that was normal, her body needed rest to fight the infection. But Tom watched her anyway, counting breaths, looking for any change. The savannah stretched out in every direction, swallowed by darkness beyond the firelight. Somewhere out there. A hyena laughed, that strange, whooping cry that raised the hair on Tom's arms. Another answered. Closer. "They won't come near the fire," Joseph said, as if reading his thoughts. He sat across from Tom, poking at the embers with a long stick. "But they're watching. They always watch." Tom nodded. He had spent enough nights on the road to know about darkness. about the things that waited in it. Joseph reached into his pack and pulled out a canvas bag. From it, he produced a small loaf of bread, dense and dark, and a jar of something that looked like jam. "Supper," he said, tearing the bread in half and offering a piece to Tom. "Not much, but it fills the belly." Tom took the bread. It was heavier than it looked, with a nutty smell that reminded him of the whole wheat loaves Margaret used to bake on Sunday mornings. She would wake up early, before the sun, and by the time Tom stumbled into the kitchen, the whole house would smell of yeast and honey. He had not thought about those mornings in years. "Thank you," Tom said. The words came out rougher than he intended. Joseph spread jam on his portion, red and thick, studded with seeds. "Fig preserves. My mother makes them. She says a meal shared is a blessing doubled." Tom bit into the bread. Dense, slightly sweet, it stuck to his teeth in a way that felt familiar, comforting. "Your mother sounds like a wise woman." "She is." Joseph smiled. "Drives me crazy most days, but wise." The fire popped. A log shifted, sending a shower of sparks into the air. Amara emerged from the darkness. Her face lit orange by the flames. She had been checking on McKenna, adjusting the IV drip, monitoring vitals. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes, dust in the creases of her face. "How is she?" Tom asked. "Holding." Amara lowered herself onto another crate, across the fire from Tom. Her movements were slow, heavy with exhaustion. "Temperature is still elevated, but it's not climbing." "That's something." Joseph offered her bread and jam. She took it without a word, eating mechanically. Her eyes fixed on the fire. For a while, no one spoke. The fire crackled. The hyenas called to each other in the darkness. Kaylee shifted against Tom's leg, her trunk curling tighter. "You want water?" Joseph held up a canteen. Tom nodded. His throat was parched, coated with dust and smoke. He caught the canteen when Joseph tossed it and drank deep. The water was warm but clean. "Thanks." Joseph went back to poking the fire. He added another piece of wood. The flames climbed higher, pushing back the darkness. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Brennan?" Tom handed back the canteen. "Reckon you can ask anything. Don't mean I'll answer." Joseph smiled at that. "Fair enough." He paused, choosing his words. "Why are you here in Kenya? I mean, Americans don't usually volunteer to drive supply trucks in the middle of nowhere." Tom stared at the fire. The flames twisted and danced, orange and yellow, consuming the dry wood. "Needed something to do with my hands." Joseph waited. The fire popped. A log collapsed, sending up a spray of sparks. "My wife passed," Tom said. The words came out flat, like reading from a list someone else had written. 3 years ago, cancer took her." Joseph's face shifted. Not pity, Tom had seen enough pity to last a lifetime. Something else. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. "I'm sorry for your loss." Tom shrugged. The motion felt stiff, mechanical. "Happens. Sooner or later. It happens to everyone." "Does it get easier, the missing?" Tom thought about that, about the empty house in Montana, about the bourbon every night, not to get drunk, just to quiet the thoughts enough to sleep. About the way he could not look at Margaret's chair in the living room, still sitting where she had left it, a blanket folded over the armrest. "No," he said. "You just get used to carrying it." Joseph nodded slowly. He added another stick to the fire, watching the flames curl around it. "Elephants grieve too," he said. "Did you know that—" Tom looked at Kaylee, still pressed against his leg. "I've heard something about it. When one of them dies, the others stay with the body, sometimes for days. They touch it with their trunks over and over, like they're trying to wake it up. They make sounds, low sounds, below what we can hear. Scientists think they're talking to each other, maybe saying goodbye. The fire crackled. Tom said nothing. When Kaylee's father was killed, Joseph continued, the whole herd stayed with his body for 3 days. McKenna wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink. She just stood there, trunk resting on his face. The rangers thought she might die too, just give up. Tom's chest felt tight. He looked at McKenna's massive form, her chest rising and falling in the firelight. What changed? Kaylee. Joseph's voice softened. The baby kept nudging her, kept calling to her. Wouldn't leave her side, not for a second. Eventually, McKenna started walking again, started eating, for Kaylee. Tom watched the baby elephant beside him, her small ears, her wrinkled skin, her trunk, curled against her chest as she slept. Ain't that something? He murmured. Joseph tilted his head. What? Nothing. Just something my father used to say. The fire had burned down to embers. Joseph added more wood. The flames caught again, hungry and bright. Amara had finished her bread. She sat with her hands wrapped around a tin cup coffee, Tom guessed, from the bitter smell drifting across the fire. Mr. Brennan. Her voice cut through the silence. You said you were married. Any children? Tom's throat constricted. He forced the word out. A son. Daniel. He lives in Chicago. Does he know you're here? We don't talk. Amara did not ask why. She just nodded, as if that answered something she had not asked aloud. The hyena laughed again. Closer this time. Joseph picked up a flashlight and swept the beam across the darkness. Eyes reflected back yellow-green, low to the ground. Then they were gone. Just curious, Joseph said. They won't bother us. Tom was not so sure, but he said nothing. The conversation drifted after that. Small things. The weather dry season was hard this year. The work too many poachers, not enough rangers. The elephants McKenna's herd had been ranging farther north lately, following the water. Tom listened more than he talked. That was his way, had always been his way. Margaret used to tease him about it. You're like a stone in a river, Tom Brennan. The world just flows around you while you sit there thinking your thoughts. She had been right. He had sat there, thinking his thoughts, while the world flowed past, while Daniel grew up and moved away, while Margaret got sick and got sicker, while everything that mattered slipped through his fingers like water. The fire burned lower. The stars wheeled overhead, more stars than Tom had ever seen in Montana, thick as spilled salt across black velvet. You should sleep, Amara told Joseph. I'll take first watch. Joseph nodded, but he did not move immediately. He was looking at Kaylee again, still pressed against Tom's leg. She's still holding on to him, he said, almost to himself. Amara followed his gaze. Her expression flickered surprise. Maybe, or something softer. Elephants remember everything, Joseph said. Every person who helped them, every person who hurt them. They carry it all. He looked at Tom. She'll remember you, Mr. Brennan, for the rest of her life. Tom did not know what to say to that. Joseph stood, stretched, and walked to the truck to get his bedroll. Amara remained by the fire, her eyes moving between the flames and McKenna's still form. Tom stayed where he was. His body ached. His eyes burned with exhaustion. But he could not bring himself to move, could not bring himself to disturb Kaylee's sleep. The fire crackled. The savanna breathed around them insects, birds, the distant whooping of hyenas. And Tom thought about Margaret, not the hospital, not the funeral, not the terrible emptiness of coming home to a house that no longer held her. He thought about the good things. Their wedding day, a small church in Billings, 40 years ago, Margaret in her mother's white dress, altered to fit her slim frame, Tom in a borrowed suit that pinched at the shoulders. The way she had looked at him when she said her vows like he was the only person in the world. He thought about the smell of her hair, lavender. She had used the same shampoo for 30 years, ordered it special from a catalog because the stores in town didn't carry it. He thought about the sound of her laugh. Not the polite laugh she used for strangers, but the real one, the one that came from her belly, that made her eyes crinkle and her shoulders shake. He thought about her hands, small and capable, always moving, kneading bread, folding laundry, reaching for his arm when they walked together. He thought about the last time he had held her hand, the hospital, the machines beeping, her fingers thin and cold in his, the wedding ring loose on her finger because she had lost so much weight. "Promise me," she had whispered. "Promise me you'll be okay." He had promised. What else could he do? But he had not been okay, not for a single day since. Something wet rolled down Tom's cheek. He wiped it away quickly, before Amara could see. Dust, smoke, that was all. Kaylee stirred against his leg. Her trunk lifted, touched his hand, then settled back down. Tom looked at her, at this small creature who had every reason to fear him, to hate his kind, but who had chosen to trust him anyway. Why, he wondered. Why me? He had no answer. Maybe there was no answer. Maybe some things just happened, without reason, without meaning. Or maybe a sound from Makina broke through his thoughts, low, deep, not a groan of pain, but something else. Tom looked up. The mother elephant's eye was open. She was looking at Kaylee, first always, Kaylee first. Then her gaze moved, slow and heavy, until it found Tom. They looked at each other across the firelight, man and elephant, stranger and stranger. Makina's trunk lifted, heavy, slow, trembling with the effort. It reached toward him. Tom held his breath. The trunk stopped a foot from his chest, hung there, swaying slightly, then it withdrew. But something had passed between them. Tom could not have explained it to anyone, could not have put it into words. But he felt it, a weight settling, a connection forming. "Thank you." The gesture seemed to say, "Thank you for staying." Tom nodded, a small motion, barely visible. Makina's eye closed. Her breathing deepened. She was resting now, healing. Amara let out a breath Tom had not realized she was holding. "Her fever's coming down. Pulse is steadier." She looked at Tom with something that might have been respect. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Tom had no idea what he was doing, but he stayed where he was. The fire burned low. Joseph returned with his bedroll and settled near the truck. Amara kept watch, her rifle across her knees, not for the elephants, Tom realized, but for the things that hunted in the dark. The hours passed. The stars wheeled. The hyenas fell silent. And Tom sat by the fire. A baby elephant pressed against his leg, thinking about all the things he should have done differently, all the times he should have stayed. Near midnight, Amara's radio crackled to life. She grabbed it, listened. Her face changed, tightening, hardening. "What is it?" Tom asked. She lowered the radio slowly. When she spoke, her voice was flat, controlled. "Makina needs stronger antibiotics. What I have isn't working fast enough. The infection is resistant." She paused. "We have what she needs at the main camp, 15 kilometers, but I can't leave her. And Joseph isn't trained for night driving on these roads." She looked at Tom. "I know you just met these animals. I know you have no reason to help beyond what you've already done." She hesitated. "But if someone doesn't get those antibiotics before dawn, Makina will die. And if Makina dies—" She did not finish. She did not need to. Tom looked at Kaylee, still sleeping against his leg, at Makina, breathing slow and heavy in the firelight, at the endless darkness stretching out beyond the flames, 15 kilometers, in the dark, on roads he did not know, in a land that would kill him if he made one wrong turn. He thought about all the times he had driven away from things that mattered, Maybe it was time to drive towards something instead. "Give me the keys," he said. Amara pressed the keys into his palm. Cold metal. Heavy. "Straight road for 12 kilometers. You'll pass a dried riverbed, then a stand of fever trees, yellow bark. You can't miss them in the headlights. Turn left at the split baobab. The tree was struck by lightning years ago, cracked right down the middle. You'll see the camp lights after that." Tom repeated it in his head. Riverbed, fever trees, split baobab. Turn left. "Ask for Elijah when you get there. Tell him it's for a resistant infection, secondary to traumatic wound. He'll know what to pack." Elijah. Resistant infection. "Got it." Amara held his gaze. "The road is dangerous at night. Mr. Brennan. Lions hunt in the dark. Poachers, too. If you see headlights coming toward you and they don't look right, don't stop. Don't slow down. You drive." Tom nodded. "And, Mr. Brennan," she paused, "come back." He walked to the pickup truck. Kaylee had woken when he stood. She watched him now, her trunk raised, her small body tense. Tom stopped beside her. "I'll be back," he said. "You hear me? I'll be back." Kaylee made a sound, low, questioning. Her trunk reached toward him, touched his chest. Tom let it rest there for a moment. Then he stepped back. "Watch over your mama." He climbed into the truck. The engine turned over on the first try, a good sign. He adjusted the mirrors, checked the fuel gauge. 3/4 full. Plenty. The headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating red dirt and dry grass. Tom put the truck in gear and pulled onto the road. Behind him, the firelight shrank. Smaller. Smaller. Gone. He was alone. The road unspooled before him, a pale ribbon in the headlights, red dust, gray rocks, the occasional acacia tree, branches reaching like skeletal hands. Tom gripped the wheel and drove. The silence pressed in. No radio in this truck, or if there was, he could not find the switch. Just the rumble of the engine, the crunch of tires on dirt, and the vast African night. He found himself humming. An old song. One his father used to sing on long drives when Tom was a boy. Johnny Cash. "I Walk the Line." The melody came back to him note by note, rising from some deep place he had forgotten existed. "I keep a close watch on this heart of mine." Margaret had loved Johnny Cash. They had danced to Ring of Fire at their wedding reception, a small affair, just family and a few friends, in the church basement in Billings. Margaret had laughed when Tom stepped on her feet. He could still hear that laugh if he closed his eyes. He kept his eyes open. Watched the road. The dried riverbed appeared in the headlights, a wide gash in the earth, sandy and pale. Tom slowed, eased the truck across. The suspension groaned. Rocks scraped the undercarriage. Then he was through, back on solid ground. He checked the dashboard clock. 1:17 a.m. Keep moving. The memory came without warning. The kitchen in Montana. Morning light through the windows. Margaret at the stove, humming while she worked. The smell of bacon and coffee and something sweet cinnamon rolls, maybe, the kind she made on Sundays. Tom had come up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. She had leaned back into him, still humming. "What's the occasion?" he had asked. "No occasion. Just felt like baking. Smells like heaven in here." She had turned in his arms, looked up at him with those blue eyes the color of Montana sky in summer. "Stay home today," she had said. "Just today. We could drive up to the lake, have a picnic." He had wanted to. He remembered that. The wanting had been a physical thing, an ache in his chest, but there was a delivery scheduled, a client in Bozeman who needed his shipment by noon. Money they needed, bills to pay. "Next week," he had said. "I promise." Margaret's smile had flickered, just for a second. Then she had nodded, turned back to the stove. "Next week, then." They never made it to the lake, not that week. Not any week. Tom blinked. The road swam back into focus. His hands were shaking on the wheel. He gripped harder, steadied them. The fever trees appeared ahead, a cluster of them, their bark pale yellow in the headlights, almost glowing. Tom slowed, looked for the split baobab. There, on the left, a massive tree, ancient and gnarled. Its trunk cracked down the middle like a broken heart. Lightning damage. Amara had said, years ago. Tom turned left. The road narrowed. Rougher here. Rocks and ruts that jarred his spine. The truck bounced and rattled. Tom held the wheel steady and kept his eyes forward. Something moved at the edge of the headlights. Tom's foot jerked toward the brake. His heart slammed against his ribs. Eyes, two of them, low to the ground, reflecting green in the light. The eyes blinked, then vanished into the grass. Tom exhaled. His hands were trembling again. Just an animal, hyena, jackal. Nothing to worry about. He pressed the accelerator. The truck surged forward. The memory came again. Stronger this time. The hospital. 6 months before the end. Margaret in the bed, thin and gray, the monitors beeping their steady rhythm. Tom had been sitting beside her, holding her hand. Her fingers felt like bird bones, fragile, delicate. Nothing like the strong hands that had kneaded bread and changed diapers and held him through 1,000 sleepless nights. "You don't have to stay," she had said. Her voice was soft, tired. "I know you have that run to Spokane." He did, a big one. Good money. They needed it for the medical bills. "It can wait," he had said, but even as he said it, he was calculating. The delivery, the deadline, the penalty for being late. Margaret had seen it in his eyes. She always could read him better than anyone. "Go," she had said. "I'll be fine. The nurses take good care of me. Maggie, go, Tom." She had squeezed his hand. Weak. So weak. "I'll be here when you get back." She had smiled. That same smile from the kitchen. The one that said she understood. The one that said she forgave him. Even when he did not deserve it. Tom had gone. 3 days later, she was in the ICU. He made it back just in time to say goodbye. The road blurred. Tom wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. Dust. Just dust. Lord. He thought not quite a prayer. Not quite anything. Lord, let me get there in time. Just this once. He did not know if anyone was listening. He had not been to church since Margaret's funeral, had not prayed. Not really. In years. But the words came anyway, rising from some place deeper than thought. Please, let me get there in time. The camp lights appeared on the horizon. Dim at first, then brighter. A compound, fences, buildings. Tom pressed harder on the accelerator. He pulled up to the gate at 1:54 a.m., less than an hour. Not bad for roads he did not know, in the dark, in a foreign land. A guard emerged from the gatehouse, young, sleepy, rifle slung over his shoulder. "I need Elijah," Tom said, his voice hoarse. "Amara sent me. Emergency supplies. Antibiotics for an elephant. Resistant infection." The guard blinked at him, then nodded and reached for a radio. 3 minutes later, another man appeared older, gray at the temples, wearing a white coat over wrinkled clothes. He moved with the unhurried efficiency of someone who had seen too many emergencies to panic at one more. "You're the American?" Elijah's accent was clipped, precise. "Yes, sir. McKenna, the elephant with the snare wound. Amara says the infection isn't responding to standard antibiotics. She needs something stronger. Elijah studied him for a moment, the dust on his clothes, the mud still caked on his boots from earlier, the exhaustion carved into his face. Follow me. Inside the supply building, bright lights, metal shelves, the sharp smell of disinfectant, medical supplies stacked in neat rows. Elijah moved with practiced efficiency, pulling bottles and bags, loading them into a cooler. Ceftriaxone, he said. Broad spectrum. If this doesn't work, he did not finish the sentence. It'll work, Tom said. Elijah glanced at him. Something flickered in his eyes, curiosity, maybe, or doubt. You care about this elephant. It was not a question. I reckon I do, Tom said. More than I expected. Elijah handed him the cooler. It was heavier than it looked. Drive carefully. The road is worse going back. You'll be fighting the ruts instead of running with them. And there have been reports of lions near the eastern ridge. I'll manage. Tom was at the door when Elijah's voice stopped him. Mr. Brennan. He turned. Whatever you're running from, Elijah paused. Sometimes the running has to stop somewhere. Might as well be here. Tom did not know what to say to that. He nodded once and walked out into the night. The truck started on the first try. He pulled out of the compound and onto the road, the cooler secured on the seat beside him. 2:07 a.m. The return drive felt longer. The ruts caught his tires, jerking the wheel. The darkness pressed closer, thicker. Twice he had to stop and back up when the road forked unexpectedly, details he had not noticed on the way to Nyen. But he kept moving, always moving. The memory came again, not the hospital this time. Something older. Daniel, 16 years old, sitting on the porch steps, a letter in his hands. Tom had just come home from a 2-week haul. What's that? He had asked. Acceptance letter, Montana State. Tom had grinned. That's great. Son, that's, I'm not going. What, why not? Daniel had looked at him, then really looked at him, in a way he had not since he was a little boy. Because someone needs to be here for Mom. Someone needs to be here when she needs help, or when she gets lonely, or when something breaks and there's no one to fix it. The words hit Tom like a slap. Danny, it's fine, Dad. Daniel's voice was flat, resigned. I get it. The road's more important than us. It always has been. He had stood up and walked into the house. The screen door banged shut behind him. Tom had stood there on the porch for a long time, alone. The split baobab appeared in the headlights. Tom turned right, retraced his path. Fever trees, riverbed, straight road. His arms ached from fighting the wheel. His eyes burned. But he kept driving. Daniel had gone to Montana State after all. Margaret had insisted. She had sat their son down and told him in that quiet but firm way of hers that he was not allowed to give up his future for her. Your father and I will be fine, she had said. You go. You live your life. That's what parents want for their children. Daniel had gone. But something had broken between him and Tom that day on the porch, something that never fully healed. The firelight appeared ahead, small, flickering. But there, Tom pressed the accelerator harder. He pulled into camp at 3:23 a.m., killed the engine, grabbed the cooler. Amara was on her feet before he reached the fire. You made it. Relief flickered across her face there and gone. How is she? Holding. But her temperature spiked an hour ago. We need to move fast. She took the cooler from his hands and ran to McKenna. Joseph was already preparing the IV line. Tom stood by the truck, breathing hard. His legs felt like rubber. His hands would not stop shaking. Kaylee appeared at his side. Her trunk reached up, touched his chest. He looked down at her wet eyes, at her small body, pressed against him like he was the only solid thing in a world gone wrong. I came back, he said. His voice cracked. Told you I would. Kaylee made a sound, low, soft, almost like a sigh. Tom put his hand on her head, rough skin, warm, behind him. Amara's voice rose. The fever's still climbing. Her body's not responding. Tom turned. McKenna lay still. Too still, her breathing shallow, her eye closed. Amara looked at the bag of antibiotics in her hand, then at Tom. "We may not have enough time." Amara administered the new antibiotics. Her hands moved fast, connecting the IV, adjusting the drip rate. Joseph held a flashlight steady, its beam cutting through the pre-dawn darkness. Tom stood back, watching. Useless. McKenna's breathing was shallow, too shallow. Her massive chest barely rose, barely fell. The bandage on her leg had darkened fluid seeping through, staining the white gauze yellow and brown. Kaylee paced beside her mother, back and forth, back and forth. Her small trunk kept reaching out, touching McKenna's face, her ear, her closed eye. The sounds she made were soft now, exhausted, like she had cried herself out and had nothing left. The radio on Amara's belt crackled, a voice urgent, breathless. "Dr. Okonkwo, come in, emergency." Amara grabbed the radio. "This is Okonkwo. Go ahead." "Poachers hit the eastern herd last night. 3 down. 1 calf wounded. Rangers are on scene, but we need medical support. Now." Amara's face went gray. She looked at McKenna. At the IV drip. At the monitors Joseph had rigged up. "I can't leave her," she said into the radio. "We have a critical case here." "Dr. Okonkwo." The voice cracked with static. 3 dead. The calf won't survive without intervention. Please." Tom stepped forward. "Go." Amara turned to him. "What?" "Go. Help the others. I'll stay with McKenna." "You don't know what you're doing. If something goes wrong, then tell me what to do. Write it down. Whatever. But those animals need you more than we do right now." Amara stared at him. The radio crackled again, more urgent this time. She made her decision. "Joseph, stay here. Monitor her vitals. If her temperature goes above 104, radio me immediately." She pointed at Tom. "You keep her calm. Keep Kaylee calm, and don't touch anything unless Joseph tells you to." She was in the Jeep and gone before Tom could respond. The dust settled. Silence returned. Joseph checked McKenna's temperature. His face was tight. 103.8, he said. "Still climbing." Tom looked at the elephant, at her still form, at Kaylee, still pacing, still reaching for her mother. "What can I do?" "Pray," Joseph said. He did not sound like he was joking. The hours crawled. Dawn broke gray and pale, the sun hidden behind a thick haze of dust. The savannah emerged from darkness, brown and endless. Tom sat by McKenna's head. Kaylee had stopped pacing. She lay beside her mother now, trunk draped across McKenna's face, eyes half closed, exhausted. Joseph checked vitals every 15 minutes. Temperature, pulse, respiration. Each time, his expression grew grimmer. 104.1, he said at one point. Then, later, 104.3. Tom watched the numbers climb and felt the weight of his own helplessness pressing down on him like a physical thing. He thought about all the times he had run, all the times he had driven away instead of staying. "This is different," he told himself. "This time you stayed. This time you came back. But what good was staying if you could not actually help around mid-morning?" The radio crackled again. Amara's voice. "Joseph, status." "Temperature's at 104.5. She's not responding to the antibiotics." Silence on the other end. Then, "Keep her hydrated. Keep her cool. Wet cloths on her ears and feet. I'll be back as soon as I can." Joseph lowered the radio. He looked at Tom. "Help me." They soaked cloths in water from the supply truck. They draped them over Makina's ears, pressed them against her feet. The elephant did not react, did not move. Tom worked mechanically. Soak, wring, apply, soak, wring, apply. The sun climbed higher. The heat grew oppressive. Sweat poured down Tom's face, soaked through his shirt, pooled in the small of his back. Kaylee watched them with dull eyes. She had stopped making sounds, stopped reaching for her mother. That scared Tom more than anything. By noon. Makina's temperature had hit 105. Joseph's hands shook as he checked the reading. If it goes any higher... He did not finish. Tom looked at the elephant, at her labored breathing, at her closed eye. She's dying, he thought. Right here, right now. And there's nothing I can do. The realization hit him like a blow to the chest. All his life, he had convinced himself that he was doing the right thing, working hard, providing for his family, putting in the miles, the hours, the sacrifice. But it was all a lie. He had not been providing. He had been running. Running from the hard parts, running from the pain, running from the unbearable weight of watching someone he loved slip away. Margaret had died alone because Tom was too much of a coward to sit beside her and hold her hand. And now Makina was dying, and Tom was standing here with wet rags in his hands, pretending that soaking cloths made any difference at all. I need to check the IV, Joseph said. Can you hold the flashlight? Tom nodded. He stepped forward to take the flashlight from Joseph's pack. His foot caught on something, a root, a rock. He did not see what. He went down. His hands shot out to break his fall. They plunged into something cold, wet, thick. The water bucket. No, not just the bucket. The bucket had tipped, spilling into a depression in the ground. The water had mixed with dirt, with elephant waste, with the discharge that had seeped from Makina's wound. Tom's hands sank into the muck up to his wrists. The smell hit him rot and waste and infection. His stomach heaved. He tried to push himself up. His palms slipped. He went down again, this time on his chest. The mud soaked through his shirt, cold and foul against his skin. Mr. Brennan. Joseph reached for him. Tom pushed himself up on his own. His arms shook. His whole body shook. He made it to his knees, then to his feet. He looked down at himself. His shirt was brown with mud. His hands were caked in filth. The smell clung to him, decay and dirt and shame. A ranger walked past, carrying supplies. He glanced at Tom covered in muck, standing there like a fool, and looked away without a word. Did not offer to help. Did not acknowledge him at all. Tom stood there, dripping, stinking, 62 years old, covered in mud and waste, unable to help, unable to do anything right. This is what you are, a voice whispered in his head. Not his father's voice this time, his own. This is what you've always been, a man who shows up too late and makes a mess of everything he touches. He looked at his hands, filthy, trembling. You couldn't save Margaret. You couldn't be there for Daniel to shed some, and you can't save this elephant either, and you can't save anyone. You never could. Kaylee lifted her head. She looked at Tom, at his mud-caked clothes, at his shaking hands. Her trunk reached toward him, then stopped. She smelled it. The rot, the waste, the sickness. For the first time since Tom had met her, Kaylee pulled back. She did not press against him, did not touch his chest. She just looked at him with those wet, dark eyes. Then she turned away and lay her head back down beside her mother. Tom stood there. The sun beat down. The mud dried on his skin, stiffening, cracking. Joseph worked around him, checking vitals, adjusting the IV, doing the things Tom could not do. Tom was invisible, irrelevant. A dirty old man standing in the way. He walked away from the camp, away from the elephants and the rangers and Joseph's careful, pitying silence. He walked until he found a flat rock 50 yards out, and he sat down. His hands were still shaking. The mud had dried in the creases of his palms, turning them dark, making them look like the hands of a corpse. He thought about all the roads he had driven, all the miles he had put between himself and the people who loved him. He thought about Margaret's face when he told her he had to leave. Again, and again, and again. He thought about Daniel's voice at the funeral. Cold, empty. You never stay, Dad, not once. And he thought about Kali, turning away from him, the one creature in the world who had trusted him, and even she could not stand to be near him now. Tom put his face in his dirty hands, and he wept. Not for Margaret, not for the elephants, for himself, for the waste of it all, for 62 years of running, and nothing to show for it but mud and shame and a son who would not speak to him. The tears cut tracks through the grime on his face. He did not wipe them away. What was the point? Behind him, Joseph's voice rose in alarm. Her temperature just hit 106. She's crashing. Tom heard Joseph's voice. The words cut through the fog in his head. She's crashing. He sat on the rock, covered in filth, face wet with tears. The sun beat down on his back. The mud had dried stiff on his clothes. He could stay here. Let Joseph handle it. Let the elephant die. Let everything end the way it always ended, with Tom sitting somewhere far away, doing nothing, while the people who mattered slipped through his fingers. That would be easy. That would be familiar. You've been running your whole life, the voice in his head said. Why stop now? Tom looked at his hands. Cracked mud, dirty fingernails. The hands of a man who had spent 62 years gripping a steering wheel instead of holding the people he loved. He thought about Kaylee. What had she done when her mother fell, when the wire cut into Makina's leg and she collapsed on that dusty road Kaylee had not run? She had not given up. She had stood in front of a truck and screamed until someone listened. A 3-year-old elephant, orphaned, terrified, watching her mother die. And she had stayed. Tom pushed himself off the rock. His knees protested. His back screamed. His whole body felt like it had been beaten with a hammer. He walked back toward the camp. Joseph was bent over Makina, working frantically. Wet cloths on her ears, ice packs from the cooler pressed against her belly. The IV drip running as fast as it could go. What do you need? Tom asked. Joseph looked up. His eyes swept over Tom, the mud, the grime, the tear tracks on his face. The backup cooler, in the truck, more ice. Tom ran. His legs did not want to cooperate. His lungs burned. But he ran. He found the cooler in the back of the supply truck. Heavy, awkward. He dragged it out, hoisted it onto his shoulder, and carried it back to Joseph. Here. Joseph grabbed ice packs, cracked them, pressed them against Makina's body. Hold this one here, on her forehead. Don't let it slip. Tom knelt beside the elephant's massive head. He pressed the ice pack against her forehead, feeling the heat radiating off her skin even through the plastic. Come on, he muttered. Come on, old girl. Don't give up now. Makina's eye was closed. Her breathing was shallow, rapid. Each exhale sounded like a wheeze. Kaylee had moved closer. She stood at her mother's side, trunk touching Makina's cheek, making that low sound, the one that was not quite a cry, not quite a word, something in between. Please, it seemed to say, please don't leave me. Tom kept his hand on the ice pack. His arm ached, his shoulder burned. He did not move. The minutes stretched. Joseph checked vitals. 105.8. Still too high, but it's dropping. Tom adjusted the ice pack, pressed harder. 105.5. Kaylee's sounds grew softer, less frantic. 105 even. Tom's arm was numb. He switched hands, kept pressure on the pack. 104.6. Joseph sat back on his heels. His face was gray with exhaustion, but something had loosened in his expression. It's working. She's stabilizing. Tom did not let go of the ice pack. Not yet. The sun climbed higher. The heat pressed down. Tom's shirt, already filthy, was soaked through with fresh sweat. The mud on his skin softened, turned slick. He did not care. He stayed where he was. Margaret, in the hospital bed, the machines beeping, her hand reaching for his. Stay, Tom. Please, just stay. He had not stayed, not that time, but he was staying now. An hour passed, then 2. Amara's voice crackled over the radio. Joseph, status. Temperatures at 103. Stable. She's going to make it. A pause. Then, I'm on my way back. Tom finally released the ice pack. His arm dropped to his side. Useless. His fingers were numb. McKenna's eye opened. Slowly. Heavily. Like waking from a deep sleep. She looked at Kaylee first. Always Kaylee first. Her trunk lifted weak, trembling, and touched her daughter's face. Callie pressed against her, making sounds Tom had never heard before. Not cries, not questions. Something else. Something that sounded almost like joy. Then McKenna's gaze moved. Found Tom. He was kneeling beside her head, covered in mud and sweat and dried tears. He looked like something dragged in from the bush. He smelled worse. But McKenna's trunk reached toward him anyway. It touched his chest, rested there, over his heart. Tom held his breath. The trunk was warm, heavy. Real. Thank you. The gesture seemed to say, Thank you for staying. Tom's throat closed up. He could not speak, could only nod. McKenna's trunk withdrew, her eye closed, but her breathing was steady now, deep, strong. She was going to live. Joseph appeared beside Tom. He held out a canteen. Drink. You look like you're about to fall over. Tom took the canteen, drank deep. The water was warm, but it tasted better than anything he could remember. You did good, Mr. Brennan. Joseph's voice was quiet. I didn't think you had it in you, if I'm being honest. Tom wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Neither did I. Amara returned an hour later. She checked McKenna's vitals, examined the wound, adjusted the IV. Her face was drawn. She had been up all night, dealing with the poacher's aftermath, but when she looked at Tom, something like respect flickered in her eyes. The antibiotics are working, fever's down, infections responding. She paused. Joseph told me what happened, how you stayed with her when things got bad. Tom shrugged. The motion made his whole body ache. Anyone would have done the same. No. Amara's voice was firm. They wouldn't. Most people run when things get hard. Mr. Brennan, you stayed. She walked away to check on the other patients. Tom sat in the dirt, too exhausted to move. His clothes were ruined. His body was broken. But something inside him felt different. Not healed, not fixed, but different. Kaylee approached, slowly, cautiously. She stopped a few feet away, watching him with those dark eyes. Tom held out his hand, palm up, waiting. Kaylee hesitated. She could smell the mud on him, the sweat, the sickness, the same things that had made her pull away before, but this time, she did not turn away. Her trunk reached out, touched his palm, wrapped around his fingers. Tom's eyes burned. I'm sorry, I scared you, he said. His voice was rough. I'm sorry, He could not finish. Did not know how. Kaylee made a soft sound. Her trunk tightened around his hand. She forgave him. Just like that. Without words, without explanations, without making him earn it. Tom thought about Daniel. About 3 years of silence. 3 years of unanswered calls and unreturned messages. 3 years of his son's voice on the answering machine. Cold and distant. Leave a message. He had left messages, dozens of them, but he had never said what needed to be said. Tom reached into his pocket with his free hand. His phone was there, an old flip phone, battered and scratched. He had bought it at a gas station years ago because Margaret insisted he have one for emergencies. He looked at the screen. Cracked, dirty, but still working. Daniel's number was still there, still saved. After everything. Tom's thumb hovered over the call button. What would you even say, the voice in his head asked. What words could possibly make up for 38 years of absence? He did not know. Maybe there were no words. Maybe some things could not be fixed with apologies and explanations. But Kaylee had taught him something on that dusty road. You did not have to know how to fix it. You just had to show up. You just had to stay. Tom pressed the button. The phone rang. Once, twice, 3 times. Then a voice, familiar, guarded. Hello? Tom's hand tightened on the phone. Danny. The name came out rough, cracked. It's Dad. Silence on the other end. Long, heavy. Tom could hear his son breathing. Could hear something else in the background, a child's voice, high and distant, laughing. Where are you? Daniel's voice was guarded, careful, the voice of a man who had been hurt too many times to let his guard down. Kenya. Long story. Tom paused. The words he needed to say stuck in his throat like dry bread. I know I don't have any right to call. I know that, but I needed to tell you something. He looked at Kaylee, still holding his hand with her trunk, at McKenna, breathing steady and strong. I'm sorry, Danny, for not being there for your mother, his voice broke. He swallowed hard. For all of it. For choosing the road when I should have chosen you. Silence. Tom closed his eyes. This was it. This was where Daniel would hang up, where 38 years of absence would finally catch up to him. Dad. Daniel's voice was different now, softer. Where did you say you were? Kenya. East Africa. I've been... Tom almost laughed. I've been sitting with elephants. A pause. Then, are you okay? I think so. For the first time in a long time, I think I am. The child's voice came again, closer now. Daddy. Who's on the phone? Daniel's voice, muffled. Just a minute, sweetheart. Then, clearer. That's Emma, your granddaughter. She's 4. Tom's chest seized. A granddaughter. 4 years old. He had missed 4 years. Danny, I want to come home if you'll let me. The silence stretched. Tom counted his heartbeats. We'll see. Dad. Daniel's voice was quiet, not cold anymore, just cautious. Call me when you land. We can talk. I will. I promise. A pause. Then, Dad. Yeah. I'm glad you called. The line went dead. Tom sat there, phone in his hand. The cracked screen reflecting the African sun. It was not forgiveness. He knew that, but it was something. A door cracked open. Kaylee's trunk squeezed his fingers. He looked down at her. Thank you, he whispered, for teaching an old fool how to stay. 3 weeks later, the sun rose golden over Amboseli, painting the savannah in shades of honey and amber. Kilimanjaro stood in the distance, snow-capped and eternal. Tom stood at the edge of the camp, watching. McKenna was on her feet. Fully healed now. The scar on her leg faded to a pale line. She stood tall and strong, her ears fanning slowly in the morning breeze. Kaylee pressed against her mother's side, trunk curled, eyes bright. Amara had tracked the herd for 3 days, found them waiting 2 kilometers north, near a watering hole. Today, McKenna and Kaylee would go home. The gate stood open. Beyond it, the grassland stretched endless and gold. McKenna moved first. Slow, deliberate steps. Kaylee followed, never more than a foot away. They passed through the gate. Onto the open plain, Tom watched them walk. Two shapes against the vast landscape, growing smaller with distance. Then Kaylee stopped. She turned. Her small head swiveled back toward the camp, toward Tom. Her trunk lifted, not reaching, not asking, just acknowledging. Tom raised his hand, a small wave. Kaylee held his gaze for a long moment, those dark eyes, wet and knowing. Then she turned and ran after her mother, her legs churning through the golden grass until she caught up, until she was pressed against McKenna's side again, and they walked north, toward their herd, toward home. Joseph appeared at Tom's elbow. "They won't forget you. Elephants remember everything." Tom watched until the two shapes disappeared into the shimmer of heat rising from the plain. That night, Tom sat on the porch of the camp's main building. The stars blazed overhead, thousands of them, more than he had ever seen anywhere. The Milky Way stretched across the sky like a river of light. Kilimanjaro rose in the distance, silver in the moonlight. Tom looked up at the stars, at the vast, unknowable sky. He thought about Margaret, about her laugh, about the smell of bread baking on Sunday mornings, about all the years he had wasted chasing roads that led nowhere. He thought about Daniel, about Emma, the granddaughter he had never met, about the phone call waiting for him when he landed. He thought about Kaylee, about the way she had pressed against him, trusting him when she had every reason not to. "Thank you," he whispered. He did not know who he was talking to. The stars, the universe, something bigger than himself. Maybe it did not matter. Thank you for the second chance. The stars burned on. The savannah breathed around him. Tom stood up. His knee ached, but not as badly as before. He walked inside to pack his bag. His flight left at dawn. Nairobi to Chicago. 23 hours. He had already texted Daniel the details. The reply had come back within minutes. "I'll be there. Terminal 5. Tom zipped his bag shut. He looked around the small room, the narrow bed, the mosquito net, the window looking out over the savannah he had come to love. He would miss this place, but it was time to go home, time to stop running. He thought about his father's words, the ones he had carried his whole life. A man does what a man gotta do. For 40 years. He had thought that meant leaving, providing, putting miles between himself and everything that hurt. He understood now. It meant staying, showing up, being there for the hard parts, even when you did not know what to do. Tom turned off the light. Tomorrow. He would fly home. He would stand in Terminal 5 and wait for his son. He would meet a granddaughter with eyes like Margaret's, he was sure of it. Somehow, he did not know if Daniel would forgive him. He did not know if they could rebuild what he had broken, but he knew one thing. He was done running. Ain't never too late, he thought. Ain't never too late to start again. Outside, the African night sang its ancient song, insects and birds and the distant rumble of elephants calling to each other across the plain. And somewhere out there, under the same stars, a mother and daughter walked together through the tall grass, heading home. If you have stayed with this story until now, perhaps something in it felt familiar. That heaviness Tom carried the roads taken when he should have stayed. The words left unspoken until the silence grew too wide to cross. Some of us know that weight. We have held it in our own chests, in our own quiet moments before sleep. Many of us have loved someone and not been there when it mattered most. Many of us have wondered if the distance we created can ever be walked back. Some of us are still carrying phone calls we have not yet made. Words we have not yet found the courage to say. This story does not need to answer anything for you. It is allowed to sit unfinished. in whatever tender place it has found. You do not need to resolve anything tonight. You do not need to understand it, or make peace with it, or turn it into something neat and tidy. Some things just need to be witnessed. Some things just need a place to rest. Thank you for being here. Thank you for staying until the end.